I want you to picture a scenario. It's, say, 3:00 p.m. on a Sunday. You look at the clock and your stomach just drops.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Ah.
It's the Sunday scaries, but in the middle of the afternoon.
Exactly. You had this massive to-do list in the morning. You were going to change the world, or at least, clean the garage, learn some French, finish that report. But now the sun is starting to go down, and you realize you haven't done a single important thing. You've been busy, sure, but you haven't been productive.
It's a universal experience.
Yeah.
And it's that specific flavor of panic mixed with guilt. And usually that's when we start beating ourselves up. We label ourselves as lazy. We think there's something wrong with our willpower.
That is exactly where we're starting today. And we're doing something a little different for this deep dive. We're looking at a series of audio transcripts from a channel called Daily English Dive.
Right.
Now, stick with me here. This content is originally designed for English learners.
Which usually means simple vocabulary, clear pacing, maybe some grammar drills.
That's what I thought. But don't let the beginner level label fool you. We went through this 3-part series hosted by 2 people, Sophie and Jack, and honestly, the psychology and the productivity hacks they're discussing are some of the most practical, high-level advice I've seen in ages.
Well, I mean, that makes sense.
How so?
There's something to be said for simplicity. When you have to explain a complex psychological concept to a learner, you have to strip away all the fluff. You get to the core truth much faster.
And the core truth here is all about the mission. Don't waste your time. But before we even get to the hacks, we have to define what waste actually is. Sophie uses this analogy that really stuck with me. She compares time to water in a bottle.
This visual's great because it's so tangible. Everyone understands a water bottle.
So you start the day with a full bottle. If you drink the water, that's a good use. You're hydrating yourself. If you water a flower, that's a good use. You're creating growth.
Okay.
But wasting time, that's taking the cap off and just dumping the water on the floor. See, that's where most people get the definition wrong. They think pouring water on the floor means relaxing. They think if they aren't working, they're wasting the water.
Right. But Sophie argues that's completely backwards. If you watch a movie and you feel recharged and happy afterward, you didn't pour the water on the floor. You watered a flower of rest.
It's a valid use.
A completely valid, productive use of the water.
The distinction is entirely in the aftermath. If you spend 2 hours doom scrolling on your phone, how do you feel?
My eyes hurt, I'm tired, and I usually feel kind of gross, like I ate too much sugar.
Then you poured the water on the floor. You didn't grow and you didn't rest, you just made a puddle.
So if we know the water is valuable and we know pouring it on the floor makes us feel terrible, why do we keep doing it? Why is it so hard to just drink the water?
This is where the source material gets into some legitimate psychology. They introduced something called the planning fallacy.
Sophie calls it the optimism trap, which frankly I feel personally attacked by. We all should. The planning fallacy is this weird glitch in the human brain where we are naturally terrible at estimating how long tasks will take.
Okay.
But it's more than just bad math. It's about who we think we're going to be in the future.
Right. When I'm planning my day for tomorrow, I'm not planning for me. I'm planning for superhero me.
Tomorrow me is going to wake up at 5 a.m., run a marathon, write a novel, and learn a language. It's a complete fantasy.
And then reality hits. Actual me wakes up, and actual me is tired, grumpy, needs coffee, and is definitely not running a marathon.
And that gap, the gap between the superhero plan and the reality, it creates immediate overwhelm. The brain looks at that massive to-do list and just says, whoa, that's dangerous. That's too much.
So it triggers a fear response.
It does. So we aren't just lazy.
We're just scared.
In a way, yes. We procrastinate to protect ourselves from the fear of that giant task. We hide.
And hiding usually looks like me organizing my desk for the 50th time.
Being busy instead of productive. It's a defense mechanism. It feels safe to organize pens because you can't fail at it, but you aren't moving the needle. You're just pouring the water on the floor very slowly.
So Sophie and Jack suggest a fix that bypasses that fear response entirely. They call it the GPS method.
I love this analogy. It's so simple. If you get in your car and tell the GPS, I want to go to a nice city, what happens?
Nothing. The car just sits in the driveway. The GPS can't calculate a route for a nice city. It needs an address.
But we do this with our lives all the time. I want to get fit. I want to learn English. Those are nice cities. They aren't addresses. They're vague dreams.
And because they aren't addresses, you never start the car.
Exactly. The fix is what they call tiny plans. You have to shrink the goal down until it's so small that your brain's fear center doesn't even notice it.
So instead of get fit, it's what? Do 5 push-ups.
Precisely. If I tell you to do 100 push-ups, your brain says, no way. If I tell you to do 5, your brain says, oh, I can do that in 10 seconds. The resistance just evaporates.
It reminds me of that whole concept of shrinking the change.
It's the same principle.
Yeah.
And they combine this with the 2-minute rule. If you're stuck on the couch, literally paralyzed by how much you have to do, you just tell yourself, I will only do this for 2 minutes.
That seems like a trick, though. Like, I know I need to do more than 2 minutes of work.
It is a trick, but it's a trick that works on your biology. The hardest part of, physics and productivity is friction.
Getting started.
Getting a stationary object to move takes a lot of energy. Keeping a moving object moving is easy. The 2-minute rule is just to get the car rolling.
And once you start, you usually keep going.
Almost always. And there's a chemical reason for that, too.
The dopamine hit.
Yes. Sophie talks about small wins. When you finish that tiny plan, even if it was just learning 3 new words or doing 5 push-ups, your brain releases dopamine. You feel successful.
And success breeds more success.
Exactly.
So the strategy isn't to be a superhero once a month. It's to be a tortoise every single day.
Consistency beats intensity every time. They use the example of English learning just 3 words a day for a year gives you over 1,000 words.
Right.
Trying to learn 100 words in one day usually just leads to quitting by day 2.
Okay, so we have our tiny GPS plans. We know we need to do small things. But then comes the classic excuse, I don't have time.
Yes, the scarcity mindset. But the source material flips this on its head with probably my favorite metaphor in the whole series.
Which is?
Time coins.
This completely changed how I look at my day. So the premise is that we treat time like money, right?
We do, but inconsistently. Imagine an hour is a $100 bill. You're careful with it. You plan how to spend it. You would just drop a $100 bill in the street.
No way. But 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
That's loose change. That's a nickel. If you drop a nickel in the sofa cushions, you don't tear the house apart looking for it. You just shrug and move on.
And we do this all day long, waiting for the kettle to boil, waiting for an elevator, standing in line at the grocery store. It's just pocket time. We think it's worthless because it's small.
Sophie calls this the small window fallacy. Because if you actually do the math, and they did the math in the episode, it is shocking.
Lay the numbers on us.
Okay. If you reclaim just 15 minutes of that pocket time a day, just 15 minutes of loose change.
Okay.
Over the course of a year, that adds up to 91 hours.
91 hours.
That's more than 2 full work weeks. Imagine if your boss gave you 2 weeks of extra vacation time to learn a new skill. You'd be thrilled, but you already have it.
It's just scattered in the sofa cushions of your day.
Exactly.
That makes you a time millionaire. It's not about finding more hours. It's about stopping the leak.
And that's a crucial mindset shift. You don't need to quit your job to learn a language or start a side hustle. You just need to pick up the coins.
But here's the problem with picking up those coins. Every time I have 5 minutes, say, waiting for a bus, I don't pull out a book. I pull out my phone.
Enter the villain of the story, the time thief.
And the biggest thief is that black mirror in our pockets. But Sophie and Jack make a point here that I think is crucial. It's not that we're just weak. The deck is stacked against us.
Right. They introduced the concept of variable rewards. Basically, your phone is a slot machine.
I'd never thought about it that way, but it's so true. When you pull to refresh Instagram, you don't know what you're going to get.
And that uncertainty is what spikes the dopamine. If you knew exactly what was coming, you'd get bored. But because it might be a funny video or it might be a message from a friend, your brain stays hooked, waiting for the jackpot.
And before you know it, you've been scrolling for 45 minutes, you've fallen into the infinite scroll.
Which just destroys your ability to focus. And this leads to the myth of multitasking. A lot of us think, well, I can scroll while I watch TV, or I can answer emails while I'm on a Zoom call.
I am definitely guilty of the Zoom call email check. I feel like I'm being double productive.
You aren't. Sophie uses the term context switching. Think of your brain like a computer with way too many tabs open. Every time you switch tabs, the computer freezes for a second.
The spinning wheel of death.
Exactly. But for the human brain, that freeze lasts a long time. There's a study cited in similar research that says it takes about 23 minutes to get back into a state of deep focus after you've been interrupted.
Wait, 23 minutes? So if I check a notification for 10 seconds, I haven't just lost 10 seconds.
No, you've lost the 10 seconds, plus the 20-something minutes it takes your brain to ramp back up to optimal speed. You're paying a massive tax every time you switch contexts.
That explains so much. That explains why I can spend 8 hours at my desk, feel exhausted, and yet feel like I accomplished absolutely nothing.
You were just paying the tax all day.
Yeah.
It's tragic, really. We're busy, but we're bankrupting our attention.
So how do we fight back? The source material offers some locks for our doors, because willpower isn't enough against a slot machine designed by engineers to keep you hooked.
The key word here is friction. Right now, the phone is too easy to access. You need to make it annoying to use.
One tip was physical distance. Put the phone in another room.
It sounds almost too simple, but our brains are fundamentally lazy. If you have to stand up, walk down the hall, and go to the kitchen to check Instagram, you probably won't do it.
You'll just read the book that's next to you instead.
Hopefully. Another one is grayscale mode, turning your screen black and white.
I like this one.
It attacks the variable reward system directly. If you strip away the bright red notifications and the colorful photos, the slot machine becomes boring. The brain doesn't get that same visual stimulation, so the urge to scroll just drops.
And then there's the 10-minute delay.
This is a great exercise in willpower. When you feel the urge to check the phone, you tell yourself, okay, I can check it, but I have to wait 10 minutes.
And what happens?
Usually the urge is like a wave. It spikes and then it crashes. If you can wait out the wave, the urge often just disappears.
I've actually tried this since going through the transcripts, and it works surprisingly well. Just telling myself not yet instead of a hard no makes it so much easier.
It practices delayed gratification, which is a muscle we've all let atrophy a little bit.
So we've got our GPS plans, we're hoarding our time coins, and we've locked our phones in the other room. We're operating at peak efficiency. But there's one final pillar in this series, and honestly, it felt the most counterintuitive to me.
The pillar of rest.
But not just sleep. We're talking about stopping. And for someone like me who equates doing nothing with failing, this was a hard pill to swallow.
That is what Sophie calls toxic productivity. It's the belief that being busy equals being good. But humans have a biological limit, and to explain it, they use pizza.
Finally, a productivity hack I can taste. Walk me through the pizza analogy.
It's the law of diminishing returns. Imagine you are starving. That first slice of pizza, it's heaven. Best thing you've ever tasted.
High reward. I can practically taste the pepperoni.
The second slice, still great. Third slice. Okay, I'm getting full. But what happens if I force you to eat a 10th slice?
I'm going to feel sick. I'm going to hate the pizza. I might even throw up.
And you aren't getting any nutritional value out of it anymore. You're just doing damage. Work is the same way. The first hour of deep work is your first slice of pizza. But if you try to grind for 10 hours straight,
that 10th hour is the 10th slice of pizza. You're just staring at the screen, making mistakes, rewriting the same sentence 3 times.
You're actually wasting time by working because you are working so inefficiently. You need to stop. You need to sharpen the paw.
The woodcutter story.
Right. You can spend all day sawing a tree with a dull blade, sweating and struggling. Or you can stop for 30 minutes, sharpen the saw, and cut the tree down in 10 minutes. Rest isn't avoiding work.
Rest is sharpening the tool so the work takes less time.
Precisely.
But, and this is the big but, Sophie warns us that we are probably resting wrong.
Yes. We confuse numbing out with resting.
So if I'm lying on the couch scrolling TikTok, I feel like I'm resting. My body isn't moving.
But your brain is running a marathon. It's processing colors, sounds, text, emotions. It's taking in massive amounts of input. That is passive rest. And it doesn't recharge your battery. It just drains it differently.
So what is true rest?
True rest is about entering the default mode. It's active. It's going for a walk without headphones. It's staring out a window. It's folding laundry in silence. You have to stop the input so the brain can switch into its cleaning mode.
That is actually really difficult, to just be with your own thoughts.
It is. But that's how you sharpen the saw. If you never stop the input, you never clean the cache.
That is a light bulb moment for me. I often finish a workday, scroll for an hour, and then wonder why I'm still so exhausted.
You never stop the input.
I never let my brain go into default mode. I just switched screens. All right, let's bring this all together. We've unpacked a lot from Sophie and Jack series, and since this is technically an English learning resource, let's do a quick vocab tour just like they did. These words really anchor the concepts.
Sure. Let's start with intentional. This is the opposite of accidental. It means doing things on purpose, not just letting time happen to you.
Then we have vague.
The enemy of planning. I want to be better is vague. I will do 5 push-ups is specific.
Variable rewards.
The slot machine trick. The uncertainty that keeps you addicted to your phone.
Context switching.
The brain tax you pay for multitasking. Remember those 23 minutes.
And finally, investment.
Viewing time and rest as things you invest to get future returns. You aren't spending time, you are planting seeds.
So if our listener wants to turn this deep dive into action today, what are the 3 big steps?
Based on the source, here's the roadmap. Number 1, create a tiny GPS plan. Ignore the mountain. Just pick one specific address for today. I will read 5 pages. I will learn 3 words.
Step.
Guard your pocket time. Don't spend those 5-minute coins on the time thief. Use them to do one tiny productive thing.
And step 3.
Schedule true rest. And be ruthless about it. If you're dull, stop sawing. Go for a walk. Stare at a wall. Let your brain clean itself.
I love that. It takes the pressure off. You don't have to be a machine. In fact, trying to be a machine is the least efficient way to be a human.
That sums it up perfectly.
Well, this has been a fantastic look into the daily English dive materials. It's amazing how much life wisdom is packed into those language lessons.
It really is. It shows that good advice transcends language levels.
I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We talked a lot about guarding your time from external thieves like phones and distractions, but I want you to ask yourself, is there an internal thief? Is there a mindset or a fear, like that perfectionism we talked about, that's stealing more time than your phone ever could?
That's a big question. Sometimes the call is coming from inside the house.
Something to think about while you sharpen your saw today. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.